All right, everyone. Welcome to the Joe Vore Podcast, JV Podcast Network. A very special guest. We have another member, fellow CK talent, awesome guy. Really looking forward to our talk today. Zach Engelman joining the show. Zach, thank you so much for coming on. You're going off the Instagram bio. We're not a Wikipedia page yet, but we have, model, actor, RCIS, which I looked up, by the way. Correct me if I'm wrong, registered cardiovascular invasive specialist. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Very long title.
You got that going. And not to mention, if they don't follow you on Instagram, they're seeing now I guess you're in shape. You're looking pretty good right now. So I guess the first question I have to ask, I don't want to ask it, but it's what I have to ask. Do you get off at just making the rest of us feel bad, or what's your deal, man?
Hey, I'm just trying to catch up to other people. I know on my Instagram, my boy Dom, who's like my big brother, I'm just trying to catch up to him. He's the truth. So he's got a lot of shows coming up. So I'm just a small fish in the pond right now, but I appreciate you.
Of course, man. Of course. But I'm really intrigued with, are you officially a doctor? Do I need to refer to you as Dr. Engelman here? I want to be as proper as possible.
Yeah, no. Most of my friends would say don't boast his ego like that. Definitely not a doctor. I do help doctors with heart surgeries, like pacemakers, valve replacements when people have like heart attacks. So I'm scrubbed in doing the procedure with the doctor. They just come in and do the hard part. That's about it.
Gotcha. So, but I am intrigued by that though, because that's something that's definitely, unique, especially with people I feel that are going for something in like the whole world of like influencing and entertainment. Usually they have normal survival jobs, like they work in the service industry or something, you hear all those stories, what's his name was a waiter and then he got his big break and now that's the rest of his history. So what made you I want to know the whole origin story of this. Like what made you want to be an RCIS? Where did you go to school? What was the schooling like for it? And sort of like, what's a typical day to day, and has anything changed or has it gotten crazier because the last 5 months we've been living through a pandemic?
So I guess it started out, I went to school for kinesiology to get my bachelor's degree. And there was kind of two schools to go through with that. It was like strength and conditioning coach at a collegiate level or go the medical route. And I just didn't want to mix business with strength and conditioning. And Colorado's pretty expensive to live in right now. So had to go more towards the money. So I did a specialty in cardiopulmonary rehab, which is like physical therapy for the heart after people have heart attacks. Liked that. It's just hard to get a job in. And so I worked that as like part-time and then stress testing and all that kind of stuff. And I got lucky enough to get on the job training with some doctors. They vouched for me. Basically they said we'll give you 4 months on the job training. It's going to suck. If you make it, you make it. If you don't, you're fired. You suck. So luckily I made it. And so that's how I'm in the position I am now. It's pretty rough as far as trying to get into acting and modeling. Cause I feel like I don't work a lot, but all my friends are you're always on call. So it all depends. Typical day to day. I mean, we work about 4 10-hour shifts, 1 day a week of call and then 1 weekend a month. So with that weekend of call, I could stay late for 16 hours. And then overnight, if someone has a massive heart attack, I have to get into the hospital within 30 minutes and basically make sure they don't die. Same thing on the weekends. And we just, like I said, we put pacemakers into people, valve replacements, open up their arteries that feed the heart. So wow. Try to help save lives, I guess.
Wow. You know what could work though, since you're so busy with that, your first big break on a television is what they need. I don't know if they've ever run into anyone that's in this for Untold Stories of the ER. They always hire actors to play the actual people. You could play yourself if you have a crazy enough story. There's your break right there.
That's what I was thinking. I was I could be easily put on Scrubs or Grey's Anatomy or something. I'd probably judge the show a little too hard, but yeah, it'd be cool to work on one of those for sure.
Yeah. So are you always looking at shows like that specifically that are in the medical field, or maybe, I don't know if there's ever been any scenes that you've come across in shows that deal with people that are, doing very similar or the same things that you do? Are you very critical, and are you the guy that's pointing things out? Do you get pretty triggered if something's way off, or do you kind of like sit back and realize they're just trying to be entertaining, I guess?
I don't get triggered, but like, I'm not gonna lie, when I'm watching it with like, because my girlfriend was a huge Grey's Anatomy fan, and whenever I'm watching it with her, I'm like, oh, that wouldn't happen. We would do this, we do that, we do this and that. And she was like, can you just watch the show to watch? And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, or I'll like criticize acting to a degree. And she's like, can you just please just relax and let go? And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I'll drop it. So that's kind of where I don't try to watch the medical shows too much. I don't want to live my work life at home, to be honest.
Yeah, some of those people crack me up. I've heard of people. I was listening to a podcast a while ago, and he's a sports guy, but now he's out in LA. He still has a sports podcast. He works for The Ringer, Ryan Russillo, but he also does some writing and stuff like that. And he was talking about, you don't want to be the guy that walks out of that's like a struggling actor or whatever, or trying to be an actor. And you walk out of the movie theater and everyone's like, oh my gosh, that was so amazing or whatever. And then there's the one guy who's just like, I just don't understand some of the choices he was making. It just kind of really ruined it for me. Just like it's like, dude, don't be a dick. Like, it was awesome. Like, yeah, maybe you would have, and maybe it probably would have been great, right? But it's like, just to each their own, right?
Exactly. Some of my favorite films that I've watched they're the stupidest films, like Happy Gilmore is an example. Like, one of the best movies of all time, really.
Yeah.
Adam Sandler is just so stupid. So I agree with you on that.
For sure. So like you mentioned, you're in Colorado now. So what has Colorado been like the last 5 months? How have the numbers been? Is it still pretty strict? Are things open right now? Or what's going on out in Colorado?
Well, so actually right now we are completely on fire. Like, it looks like Silent Hill right now.
Oh my gosh.
We have like 3 fires going on. But as far as COVID, I'm not going to lie with this. The media hyped it up a lot. Working in a hospital, we never got busy, man. And we're the number one level trauma in the state. And I think at max, we had maybe 25 COVID patients. Wow. So yeah, really not a lot. I'm not like downgrading it by any means. Do your thing, but it's not as fearful as it was. We definitely shut down quarantine for a while, which sucked. Had to get the home workouts in, and the grocery store seemed like I was going on to Elages or something. But now we're kind of open, just masks everywhere. So curfew at like 10.
Yeah. Oh, there's a curfew
on drinking, I guess, because
Oh yeah, everything shuts down. Like, you can't sell, like, the bars, I guess, would shut down at 10, right? I think that's everywhere.
And most restaurants do. So it's like kind of a curfew, but not really.
Right.
So
yeah. Is Colorado, do things usually stay open late? I'm surprised, like, from state to state, sometimes, like, obviously we know, like, the New York cities of the world, they're like open all night. You can go anywhere to get breakfast. It could be 2 a.m, but what's Colorado like? Or do things kind of shut down?
No, like, everything's relatively open. We can dine in, all that kind of stuff. Like I said, it's just not drinking past 10, which I guess, and I think bars are shut down. I mean, we left at like 10 o'clock the other night whenever we went out. So I don't know if they're allowed to keep serving food until, 2 a.m. or something like that. But yeah, we're not as bad, because I know you're in Ohio right now.
Yeah.
And being from Pittsburgh, I know a lot of the places out there were still shut down.
Yeah.
A lot of them were like, dry counties and whatnot. So I'm sure you're familiar with that. We've never had to my knowledge, had a dry county in Colorado. So
yeah, no, I don't know if anywhere's like that in Ohio right now. I don't even know if I've even heard of it. I mean, I obviously understand what it is, but I don't think anywhere is like that in Ohio. I had no idea that was going on in Pennsylvania and some places. That's
crazy. Oh yeah, for sure. But I'm from a small little city up north from Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. Well, speaking of that, just to give people some background, when we were texting earlier this week, we found out that we are bitter rivals. That's why I got the Ohio shirt on right now.
I got black and gold. It's somewhat black and gold.
Because just to give people some background, he's from Pennsylvania. I'm from Ohio. Not only do our states border, but you growing up there near Pittsburgh, black and yellow and Super Bowl runs through your veins. And then there's me, a Cleveland Browns fan from Ohio, where brown and orange runs through my veins. But when I was born in 1998, the team had moved to Baltimore and they were called the Ravens. We didn't even have a team until 1999. Now, I don't remember anything, but there was also nothing to remember. And nothing but misery and pain and just the most bizarre stuff has followed. So we're rivals, but I mean, until Baker plays enough years, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger is still, I'm pretty sure, the winningest quarterback at our new stadium.
Yeah, he is.
Crazy.
I love the stats when they pop that up during the Browns and Steelers games. I'm like, oh my God, this is sad.
It's so bad.
It's so terrible. And you
Yeah.
guys are stacked. Like, I almost find myself rooting for the Browns a lot because I like OBJ. Baker's all right. I liked Kareem when he was there. So I like to find myself rooting for the Browns. when we play, I'm like, nah, I hate them. So
Yeah.
I hate the Ravens.
Oh, yeah. We can agree on that. We hate the Ravens. And here in Ohio, I don't know if you know this, if you're in on the joke at all, but like, we don't claim Cincinnati. We basically say that we say that they're Kentucky. So like, we're not like, as long as they're still bad and it's 2 free wins a year. I mean, that's fine with me because the Browns were the 2 free wins team for the last, well, probably since about like Jim Brown played in the Cardiac Kids. Like after that, it's been 2 free wins a year for the Steelers and the Ravens pretty much.
Exactly. We do the same thing. I have a coworker who's from Philly. She was like, oh, yeah, I'm from Pennsylvania. And I was like, where at? She's like, I'm from Philadelphia. I was like, oh, you're not from Pennsylvania.
No.
She goes, what do you mean? I was like, Philly ain't part of Pennsylvania. It's New York's younger stepchild. I was like, that's all Philly is.
Yeah, 'cause I want to ask you about this because when you were talking, because we're Pennsylvania certainly, and certainly parts of Pennsylvania, especially like Philadelphia, I think of Philadelphia to be East Coast. But when I think Midwest, not only geographically is it closer to being Midwest, but just kind of what you think about Midwest, like Rust Belt. Like I feel like Pittsburgh is more like, it's weird. Like Pennsylvania is almost like half and half. I feel like State College and the eastern part of Pennsylvania, like Philadelphia, that's East Coast. But when I think about like Midwestern places like Pickup, your freaking steelworkers, for God's sake, like I think Pittsburgh could be a Midwest city. I want you to, kind of break that down. Is there any truth to that? Even though geographically it's much closer to being East Coast, but I feel like just the pulse and just the environment of the city it feels more Midwest to me.
Oh, yeah. The vibe, I think, is completely Midwest. People are so nice. I mean, it's unfathomable out there. It's just – so I definitely agree that it is more Midwest than it is East Coast. But I just, growing up, my family would always, like, my mom would always be like, oh, like, we're from back east and all this kind of stuff. So I just kind of grew up being like, I'm from the East Coast, even though it's not really the East Coast,
Right.
Because the East Coast to me is like you said, it's like New York, Jersey, the Carolinas, even Florida to a degree. So
Yeah.
We're definitely more Midwest than the East Coast.
Yeah, for sure. So, but we were also, I guess before we get to the East Coast, West Coast, because we got into this too.
We got into an argument about that.
Oh, yeah. We got it. I'm like, save it for the podcast. There's going to be fireworks. It's going to be amazing.
Exactly.
But I want to talk a little football first. So everything seems go. I think the Browns, today was their first like official day of training camp. Obviously they're off to a late start. They didn't have the normal, I didn't even realize like the Hall of Fame game was supposed to be like a weekend or two ago.
No, actually, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh was supposed to play.
I think it was. I just forgot about it because they canceled it so early.
Right.
So.
Exactly. So football is, on the calendar, it's here. In reality, we don't know. It seems like the NFL is all moving forward, at least to play games. It's not going to be normal because we aren't going to be able to be there as fans. But I want to know, how are you feeling about the Steelers this year? Obviously, Big Ben is back. I don't know if he lost a bunch of weight or he just shaved his beard, but there's a bunch of talk about that. You never know about Big Ben, but what we can count on is he's going to play a bunch of games, and there's going to be a few times, as he always does, he's going to break out the walking boot, and everyone's going to be like, well, he's just going to play. It's just
Exactly.
Big Ben clockwork.
Yep. So, like, him missing last year was kind of a shocker to me because I'm used to Big Ben breaking his nose and still going out there to try to win the game. Regardless of how people feel about what he's done in his life, he's a hell of a player. I mean, he is fantastic. I'm excited, dude. I like Juju.
Yeah.
I love what we did picking up in the offseason. It's hard to get excited because you see all these other sports struggling with how COVID's kind of going. So my concern is just, will football be real? Like, will it happen? And then, like, what's going to happen if, like, say, Ben gets COVID. You can play with the flu, but
Right.
the COVID thing is going to be to where, like, he will be out for who knows how long. And that's a huge hit. Same with, like, OBJ for you guys, Baker. I mean, yeah. Chubb. I mean, if you guys lost Chubb, the run game's gone, in my opinion. So
yeah, it was certainly different, a lot different.
Excited.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
pumped.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for it to be back too, but I'm a huge NBA fan, and obviously it's a little different situation for me after LeBron leaving. Like, it's way easier. I'm still a huge Cavs fan, but it's certainly way easier when 23 is running out there for your team and leading the way. But like, it was just so weird. I was never like, I didn't like, the Cavs aren't in the bubble, and I just never believed that it was going to happen. I know guys were showing up in Orlando and everything, but I still was like, I don't know, is it really going to happen? And I've tried to watch the games, and honestly, other than the opening weekend, I just haven't really been into it because they do a great job on TV because they've heard some of the players. It feels really weird to be playing in there, but on TV it looks relatively normal, just with no fans. But for some reason, I just haven't been super into it because you're just especially with the playoffs. The same way I feel about hockey. I've been watching the Blue Jackets games. Now, hockey's fun regardless. I found out that I'm loving watching the Blue Jackets. I know you're probably a Pens fan.
And they sucked. They lost out. They let me down, man.
But I tell you what, I can't believe the Blue Jackets. I don't know if you followed it at all.
I do. I have been. I've been following hockey. It's
so
fun to watch.
I'm excited because the Blue Jackets, first off, they were one of the teams that was on the outside looking in. They had to play one of those 5-game series to get in. They beat Toronto in 5. Then, like, the game 4, I know when would it have been? Game 3, they came back. They were down, I think it was 3-0, and they came back and won. And then game 4, they were up 3-0 with, I believe, less than 5 minutes to go in the third period. And Toronto comes all the way back and beats them in overtime. I'm like, oh my gosh, now Toronto's got all the momentum going into game 5. Like, what? I'm like, great, we're going to go play Tampa Bay again. And look what we did to them last year, And then I'm like, oh my God. But they came out and they played really well and poised in game 5. And now, the other day, I don't know if you saw, they played a 5 overtime game and lost in game 1 against Tampa. Thank God they have the bubble, because if the games were regularly starting at 7 or 7:30 Eastern time, because the game started like at 2 p.m. and ended like at almost 8 o'clock.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was insane. And then they won 3-1 yesterday, and they looked really good. And Tampa's really good again. They're the number 1 seed. So
good. It sucks. Like, usually everyone's like, oh, the Pens are always good. Capitals, which I give the Capitals their credit. Can't stand them, but I give them their credit. But the Tampa Bay is, for a state that has no snow year round, they're balling. They're always good. Like, it's crazy. So I enjoy watching them.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Tampa goes on these runs now with the Lightning, and then years ago, it's been a while, but like the Rays have had pretty good baseball teams.
Yep, they have.
And it's like, and no one shows up until the playoffs. Like, the Rays games used to be, it's inside, so the Florida weather has nothing to do with keeping people away, it being too hot or raining out a ton of games. And just no one would show up, no matter how good they were. Now, obviously, they showed up in the playoffs, but it's weird. Tampa's just this place that goes on these sports runs and weird sports that never seem to do well in Florida, but they have good teams with baseball, and hockey is the weirdest one because it's like
now about to be football. The Tampa Bay Bucks with TB and Gronk, like, come on. So Tampa Bay's gonna be fun to watch as a unit, a city this year. So
Absolutely. Okay. Now let's go in. You got to sell me on this. The East Coast, with all of its glory and humidity and snow and all these other things, how is it better than the sunshine, the mountains, the beaches, just the better overall year-round weather than out my way in the West? You got to tell me on this.
I count the East Coast that I like as being like the Carolinas and Florida.
Yes.
The upper end, it's too cold. I hate the cold, even though I live in Colorado. The beaches and the sand it's stellar. It's the best water. It's warm. You can jump in at any point, go walk out on the beach, go jump in. As opposed to Cali. Like, Cali's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I love San Diego. LA, I even been to a couple times and I've enjoyed. But the water's cold. It's crowded as hell. There's a lot more sharks. But the whales, I guess, if you're whale watching, it's cooler in the West. But I just do. I
Yeah.
like the sand. I like the sand, man, and the beach.
Yeah.
It's the water.
It is true. And I've noticed now we're not talking US here, but I just noticed a huge difference when the job that I had working for Daily Dropout, the media company where I do all the interviews and stuff.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that too later on for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I've been watching you for so long, so it's like whenever I was like, oh yeah, I'm hopping on my boy's podcast, and I was like, it's the like just telling who you are. They're like, I know exactly who you're talking about. I was like, yeah. I was like, the dude's so cool. So
That's funny. But yeah, so we this past year we went to Cabo again, which I don't know if you've ever been to Cabo, but it's literally Arizona with everyone says, hey, I got some beachfront property for you in Arizona. That's literally what Cabo is, because it's the desert, the mountains, but it has beaches and it's really pretty there. And then the second part of spring break that I went on for work, we went to Cancun, and I'm like,
I went there. So like when I was watching your videos, I was like, holy shit, I stayed there. And yeah, so it was cool to watch that for sure.
That must be the spot, because I've had so many people like they comment or they reach out to me and they're like, yo, is this Grand Oasis? I'm like, yeah. Like it's a very people, I'm sure they crazy weird memories come up and they're like, that's the greatest weekend I never want to do again, because we just
Same for sure.
Yeah, but it was amazing. But I will say, and I haven't been, now I was in Miami here within the last few years. I'm like, it is because I walk up and down the beach all day, and walking in Cancun and in Miami is way better than anything I've done out my way in the West, like in Cabo or anything like that. I will give you that. The sand is way better. The water is way better. I mean, the water in Cancun is, I'm sure you remember, if you remember anything from your Cancun trip, it's how blue the water is, because it's gorgeous. It's like nothing I've ever seen.
Stunning for sure. Yeah, so I like that. The best beach I've been to, though, for sure is Italy and Capri, man. Wow. That was easily, hands down, the best. But what I like, too, about to kind of go on your side is the West Coast is, like, the sunsets, dude. The sunsets going over the beach, that's just breathtaking, in my opinion. So if there's one talk that I had to put to the West Coast, that's it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, because speaking of the, I remember being out in LA for the first time. I did something super touristy with my friends. We were just like on Hollywood Boulevard, there by the Chinese theater. Everyone's seen, they've had tons of movie premieres there. It's super famous. But I just will never forget the sunset. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like the sky is like this bluish purple, like violet. I'm just like, and you see some of these scenes in movies that they shoot out in LA. I'm like, I now realize, they edit nothing. It's the sky is just that pretty, and it's just that color. It's like nothing I'd ever seen. I was like, this is incredible.
Oh yeah, I agree. Like one of my favorite shows, I don't know if you've seen it, Californication.
Oh yeah.
I love that show. It's like they do a bunch of those sunset kind of on the beach and all this kind of like Hollywood stuff, and it feels like they don't edit it, because whenever I went out there, I was like, holy shit, this is kind of how it is.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Shout out Hank Moody. Hats off to that, man.
So I'm actually rewatching it again for like the 5th time. I love that show, man. So good.
They took it off of Netflix, because that's where I originally watched it a few years ago. But then with Spotify Student, they give you Hulu, but they also they added Showtime. And I'm like, wait, what's that Showtime show I watched? And then I remembered it was Californication, and I've just been pounding it again. It's just such a great rewatch. It's amazing.
Exactly. That's what I'm watching it on Hulu right now too. And I just love like you can dive deep into like the interpersonal, like who Hank Moody is and how he develops, and like is he the bad guy versus is he, actually a good guy who's just getting shit on. So that's what I like about the entire show, is it dives deep more than just like the Hollywood BS and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, it's terrific. The shows that are, because there's a lot of shows where they try to, do all that stuff, but the way that they've developed, like the shows like Californication, I even feel like Entourage, the way that they took Vince up and down. I mean, I don't know if you've seen that show, but in the later seasons, I mean, he goes to some dark places, almost to a point where the audience was pushing back. It's like, well, what happened to like the easygoing, Vince that we loved? Like it got bad, but those shows and what they were able to do was something that people try to emulate all the time. These these ensemble of characters in California, and, he's a writer, or he's a movie star, whatever it is. Those shows do a good job on actually telling a story and actually taking us through. And people like you and I feel like there's a huge audience that appreciates that. And I feel like that's why it's so rewatchable, because it's more than just, a few highlights and crazy things here and there.
Exactly. And it kind of, that's what you see, like the life cycles of everything. And it shows you the behind the scenes, because we see so many like stuff, like I'll even quote like Ballers with The Rock. Like I didn't know anything, but my boy Dom played it college ball, and he was like, yeah, this is true. This is like all the stuff that Dwayne The Rock did was true. And then same thing with Californication, with like the acting and the I guess books. I'm not a writer, but all that kind of stuff. It just like the more you dive into it, it's actually true. And the whole life cycle of how everything can be up and then just shoot down on you. So that's why I enjoy it.
I know those shows are so, I'm always just like, can people be so dumb? But you hear about it all the time about how, close people are to signing on to a project, but one little thing is off and or one person sets someone off the wrong way. And then all of a sudden it's like, you just feel like you're circling back constantly. I think about Entourage, and, Vince and his morals really just drove me nuts. It made for a more entertaining and maybe even a more realistic story at times. But yeah, exactly. When we realize that these things are actually, real, and there's a lot of truth to them, and you can appreciate that, because the realistic, if people do the research and actually, you appreciate it more, even if it doesn't have the same entertainment value if they would have said yes to this one thing or gone this way. When it's more realistic and authentic, I'm always going to sign up for that.
I agree with that. And I'm one of those who like dives into movies and like tries to find the meaning and all that kind of stuff whenever I watch it. And I know plenty of friends are like, I missed that. I don't even know what you're talking about. And I'm like, my bad. Like, I'm sorry. So I definitely agree. I think it makes it more like, it just takes you, and that's why I love movies and cinema and whatnot, is it takes you, and same with fitness for me, it takes you out of the reality of the world, all the stress that you build up, relationships, friends, work, like it just allows you to escape for an hour, 2 hours, whatever. So that's why I enjoy all of that. So if it has a good story behind it, it's just, it captures you,
For sure. But I really love what you say there, because I feel like I'm the same way. Even my mind is never off when I'm watching movies, because I'm always looking at them critically, or I'm always, I do the same background and deep dives as you, so I can, understand things more. I love hearing about when, this scene got put into a movie that was never in there, but someone did it in their audition, a little, improv or ad lib or a little addition, a little, just something so subtle that, sometimes you can't write, but ends up, they talk about that magic that pops up when someone just does it in an audition, or, in a second take, in a throwaway take in a movie, whatever it is. You can still escape reality without turning your mind completely off, and you're still like studying everything. And I think that's the true beauty of movies for me. Even ones that I'm rewatching, they can be background noise sometimes, but most of the time, I'm escaping whatever I'm thinking about, stresses or whatever done with work. But you never have to turn your mind off if you're able to think and go to a deeper level, which I love. It always makes me feel better. It's you just working that muscle.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I remember The Office for me is kind of my
Yeah.
background. I fucking love The Office. Sorry for cussing. I'm sorry.
No worries.
That is my background. I put that on every night before I go to sleep, to be honest. But I remember recalling like kind of with what you were diving into. I was in acting class, and this girl, nobody knew, but she was having a hard time in life, and her scene got really deep into I don't know. It was from Steel Magnolia. So it got like really dark and deep, and she just started bursting out crying midway through the scene, finished the scene. And then she was like saying, I'm so sorry, like this, that, and the other. And like, I looked at her and I like pulled her aside, cause I knew her. I was like, that was beautiful. I was like, that was the best thing I've ever seen. And what you were saying is like, sometimes in movies, I try to look for that, to where like, it really comes from the actor's soul, to where they just like, they put that full emotion into it, So I could agree with you more. Some of the best scenes are ones that are improv, or just like mistakes, I guess you could say. So
yeah, it's like, yeah, they're like unintentional, because you can always, I feel like the best people and the most successful people, whatever's going on outside of personal lives, if they can it's just about, it doesn't matter what kind of energy it is. It's just, at the end of the day, it's just energy, right? And if you can find a way to channel that and disperse it upon things, that make you happy, or something, a craft, whether it's business, or just learning something, or it's performing, I feel like you can do a lot of great stuff. But if you don't know how to channel and kind of use that to your advantage, that's when we see when people have just a really tough time with life in general, and unfortunately, like, really sad and some tragic things happen.
Yeah, Robin Williams. I mean,
Yeah, gosh.
I mean, he was we thought one of the happiest, funniest people in the world, and
Yeah.
just got taken by depression, which that's a big issue on me. Sorry, that could. I think as a society, we need to focus on that so much. Mental health is something that's just like thrown as a redheaded stepchild. It's in the basement that we don't talk about, but we know that's there. So that sucks. But hopefully, after COVID. With everything else, with everything we're pushing towards as a society, we can start focusing on our interpersonal stuff. So I agree with you on that piece.
Yeah. I have a question for you. You're in the medical field, and I feel like a lot what's portrayed, I don't know if it's the media or whatever, is just put out there into the open to what we consume. I feel like when there's something like COVID, and for a long time, there's been a lot of stuff out by, mental health here of late. I feel like nothing that's projected, whether it's, like our government officials, or just the media in general. I feel like there's not enough, or really anything out there, because at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of these things can be avoided, or not. We can't avoid everything, but it can certainly help if we just work on, if there was more information on there, just how to just lead and live healthier lives. Because it's always, it always seems like there's, here's the quick fix, here's the vaccine, here's the pill, but really there's nothing out there like, hey, here's how to improve your immune system. And it's not a foolproof thing, but it's certainly going to help a lot. Like if you're eating too much and, you're obese and overweight or whatever, here's some steps that you can take. And, at the end of the day, you understand being in fitness and all this stuff. It's not that hard how to understand. It's very simple how to lose weight. It takes discipline and, just finding out, what you would eat to maintain where you're at. And you got to eat less than that. That's
easy.
at the end of the day, right? It's your calorie deficit, speaking in, the more specific terms. That's what we're talking about here. Do you feel like there's just like is that information going out and it's being drowned out by other stuff? Are people lazy, or is just that information not out there? Because I feel if we could just, if there was information out there, here's how to eat better, and what it's going to do. We're not giving you stuff in a crazy workout so you can go look like The Rock and like Zac Efron from Baywatch. This is just how to be, a healthier human, so that you can lose some weight, and so that, your back doesn't hurt and your knees don't hurt anymore. And, we can make sure that you're, not going to have high blood pressure before you're in like your 30s and just crazy stuff like that. Like, I know I'm kind of rambling here, but kind of talk about that. Like, is that stuff out there and it's getting drowned out? Do you think there needs to be more of it? Like, how do you feel? Because obviously you're a healthy guy, fitness, and you understand more specifically because you're working in, the medical field. You have more education on this than, most of us do.
Yeah, no, you're speaking to my heart at that point. It sucks because, some of my doctors that I work with, and I know this is worldwide, or maybe worldwide, but definitely US wide, is they just push the drugs. You had your heart attack, take this antiplatelet, which is basically clotting pills, stuff like that. We put a stent in you, just take these medications, you're good to go, quit smoking, which is phenomenal. I love to quit smoking, but we never talk about the nutrition and the, diet and exercise. And I think people associate diet and exercise with being a bodybuilder. And they're like, oh, you got to diet and exercise, I don't want to get freaking huge. And I'm like, it's not like that. I'll always try to tell the patients hey, what's your lifestyle like? If I get 5 minutes to talk to my patients, I'll be like, what's your lifestyle like? And they'll be like, well, I was good with my diet for a little bit, for a month, and then I fell off of it. I was like, well, that's why you're back here having another heart attack. Yeah. And there's some parts that people can't help. I've had, you know, as sad as it is, I've had a 38-year-old soccer star die on my table because of a heart attack. And that was just family history.
Yeah.
That's something that, you know, could not have been done. We tried our best, stuff like that. But a lot of it is just people not taking care of themselves. And what I did is, my mom's had high blood pressure. It's in my family, whatever. And I remember I got her on a diet, easy, simple modifications. You know, if you're going to eat ground beef, eat 93.7, you know, easy. It still tastes good. It's just less greasy. And eventually she's offered pain medication. She's offered blood pressure pills. And then she does like kickboxing, walking the dog, stuff like that. Like it's easier than people make it out to be. And I think it's just, we get so much paid from the hospital, from big pharma, that the doctors don't, and it sucks to say this because I work with great people, but they don't push the lifestyle and the diet. And same with the coronavirus. Like, I feel like masks, face shields, masks, social distancing, all this kind of stuff. Okay, that's cool and all. I agree to a degree, but you also have to incorporate, like, getting your fitness in is going to boost your immune system. You know, I'm never, like, I'm not boasting myself, I'm never sick. Like, I can't remember a time where I've missed work or been sick. And that's because A, I'm exposed to it all the time, but B, I live a healthy lifestyle. And I feel that people, you know, they think they're just going to wear their masks, stay at home, not do anything, and they'll be safe. And that's just, they might be true, but it definitely helps to be able to take multivitamins and then eat your proper foods to get your micronutrients and just be like all over healthy. Because we see with like corona and even just heart attacks and stuff, the more comorbidities, so the more diseases, I guess, you suffer from, the worse off you're going to have it whenever you get these big viruses, heart attacks, diabetes, all this kind of stuff, you know? So yeah, definitely. I mean, I could talk about this forever. You definitely tugged on that. Is people just, they shrug it off because they think they're going to be giant bodybuilders if they fix their diet and start working out, you know, 3 times a week.
Right. And yeah, you're exactly right, because you don't, even if you wanted to, you know, I think of the bare minimum and I think about all the objections you would get. Oh, well, I can't afford to go to the gym. I don't have time to go to the gym. Okay, you don't want to lift weights and go to the gym? Well, find some time to walk. Walk is super low impact. Like, I don't run anymore. I was an athlete in high school and I ran all the time, and I decided, you know, I don't want to be a walker, or I don't want to be, you know, I don't like going on runs or whatever. Like, I played football, basketball, and baseball. That was all, you know, shorter spurts, sprinting, things like that.
Exactly.
And I decided, well, you know, I looked at my reality. Okay, I don't want to run, but I know I want to stay in better shape. So I'm going to be a walker. That's going to take longer time. It's lower intensity, but at the end of the day, the biggest thing is coming up with something that's sustainable. That's a lifestyle. That's not a diet. Like, I decided when I found intermittent fasting, I'm like, this is great because I can do this every day. It's not something that I can do for 12 weeks and then I'm going to burn out, right? This is something I can do every single day. And, you know, you don't have to eat 1,000 calories a day. Like, you should never do that ever. Right. And like, yeah. No, and you don't even have to, and it's not crazy expensive. You don't have to spend all these times, you know, meal prepping or whatever. It's very simple. But at the end of the day, I don't blame these people because that's not what's pushed, and that information isn't out there. I mean, why can't we? Don't you think we should be able to go to a government website? You know, maybe it's on the White House website, and underneath, like, the Department of Health, you know, tab, for example. I don't know what it looks like if there's anything on there. How to be a healthier human today. Start with walking, you know, 30 minutes a day, and then build it up. And here's some, you know, foods that you can eat, and, you know, understand how to find out how many calories you need to eat based on how much you weigh. I mean, this, at the end of the day, for you and I, it's super simple because we understand it, but that, you know, people either don't know how to get the information or the information isn't out there. But I guarantee there's plenty of resources on YouTube that you could easily type in exactly what you're looking for. And there's definitely a YouTube video or an article somewhere that'll answer all your questions pretty simply.
Exactly. And I think same thing, like you said, with diets, like people hop on like intermittent fasting. I've tried, and I liked it. I had a better, you know, mental clarity. Like, I had to put some coffee in there. I'm a big caffeine addict, but to help me, but I just couldn't sustain it for trying to get bigger, you know, which is fine. But it is a lifestyle. You can do that.
Yeah.
I personally don't think that whenever people do, ketogenic diets, if you're a bodybuilder doing it, fine, do your thing. It's short term for like a show or something. But for people just trying to lose weight forever, taking out one macronutrient for the rest of your life is A, stupid,
Yeah.
B, is not sustainable. So you're right. And then same with fitness and like how the government doesn't talk about it. Like it sucks because
Yeah.
people dive into Instagram and YouTube, and there's a lot of misinformation. And I'm not saying like I'm an expert by any means, but I do have my degree. I know I dabble in it a little bit, I know. And it sucks when people are like, hey, I'll sell you this diet, I'll sell you this workout, I'll sell you this, this, and this. And it's not A, not sustainable, and B, it's not good for the people, So I think there should be a government that's like, hey, just like you said, start walking, like get a dog. My dog, I'm forced to walk my husky all the time because if I don't, she is a brat. So like,
Yeah.
even if I'm tired from work, I'm like, all right, let's go for 1 mile, easy 1 mile walk. So it's not that hard. And I mean, I worked in college, 2 jobs and college, and I still had time to work out and, get it in regardless of my goals. But everyone has time to spend 1 hour at least or 30 minutes just having some sort of exercise, walking. I mean, it's not hard. Find something you like to do. And then on the food aspect, we should have like a government database that shows you can eat healthy foods and make it good. So I remember when I started trying to do all this way back when, so I was a fighter for my whole life. And I remember like being on my fight crash diets, I'd eat like almonds and like bland ass chicken breast. It sucked. And then I learned, through school and like everything else, like I need to if I want to sustain eating healthy, I need to make it taste good. And now, I mean, I'm having like low calorie chicken Parmesan, like pizzas that are low calorie.
Awesome. Like, people don't realize that. They think it's going to be disgusting or it's impossible. Like, no, like I was eating really clean there, especially through the quarantine. And I was like pumped to eat. It never got old. It was delicious.
Exactly. And I think people, they associate, because one of my buddies that I work with is like, well, I don't want to spend all this money at the grill. Like it's so much more expensive to eat clean. And I was like, it's really not. Like, I was like, look at what you're doing. I was like, you spend $8 for lunch. You spend $5 for breakfast. You spend $10 for dinner. Look at all that. I can buy, not meal prepping, but like chicken breasts and all that kind of stuff, $4 or $5 that will last me. Simple stuff like steaks, lean steaks and whatnot. But people don't, it's the information's not there. And then you have people that are like downing the fitness industry to a degree and just not giving the right information. Like you said, that it's a lot easier than people make it seem. And that's what I try to tell all the patients and everything like that. And sometimes it's well perceived, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I kind of want to transition here, kind of change up. So I want to talk some CK talent stuff here. So I don't know. Do you know Kanan at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I had him on the podcast, which was just a miserable time, as I'm sure you can imagine.
I watched it. It looks so. Me and him share the same thing. When you were like, he had to go to the store to grab an energy drink. I was like, I feel that. I don't do energy drinks, but I'm a coffee addict and pre-workout. So I was like, I feel the addiction on that piece.
Yeah. So I asked him, I don't know if you got all the way through it or whatever, but everyone that I have on from CK, I want to ask him the same stuff. I want to know like your origin story, I guess. How long have you been with CK? Did you find them? Did they find you? Just kind of tell the whole story, that everything that led up in the process to you getting signed.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I'll just have to dive back relatively far. So my whole thing was like, I've always wanted to either like play football professionally, act, and then professionally do like MMA, cage fighting, which I've done my whole life, but I've broken my back a couple times, and I went paralyzed, and I didn't want to have that feeling again of going paralyzed if I broke my back again. So I kind of had to drop football and MMA. And I remember talking with my pops, and I was like, I feel like I'm in a void. Like I have this great job, I have a house, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, I'm not happy. And he was like, well, what would make you happy? I was like, I don't know, like maybe acting. And then I got into acting classes, Babcock, if anyone's watching this, in Colorado, phenomenal. Todd Babcock has been on a bunch of shows. Grey's Anatomy is one of them. He kind of just like, you know, we vibed, we clicked. And at that point I was like, you know what, I need to find an agency that really supports me. And I started doing my research. What clicked with me is like, whenever I was doing research and reviews about CK, it was all about how they develop people. And obviously being brand new, like I've had barely any gigs, and it sucks now getting gigs. I'm sure you've heard Kane say that. And because of COVID. And I was like, I want to be with this industry. And then going through the multiple interview process, it showed that they were caring about who you were and your vision and your goals rather, and why you're doing it, not just because you want to be the next The Rock. You know, that's he's my man crush. I don't swing that way, but still, problem. He's an inspiration. And my reason is I don't want to act because I want to be some fame, you know, celebrity walking down the street. Like we've already talked about, I like the escape that it has. So I want to make I'm a giver. I want to make other people happy. So whenever I can have people escape while watching me act or watching, you know, movie shows, that's what makes me happy. And just kind of express that with CK. And that's how I, you know, got with Craig and all of them. And it's been great. They've been fantastic, as you probably know. I've been with them only a couple months before COVID, which sucks because nothing's happening right now. But they've still like found ways to incorporate me and, you know, boast up different aspects of my life. So that's my journey with CK so far. Hopefully it's going to, you know, continue to go up from here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we must have went in around the same time. Then I actually my email was super delayed because I applied sometime in February. So, you know, it was supposed to take like 14 business days or whatever, and everything got pushed way back because of COVID. And I was freaking out. Like I hadn't heard back. I'm like, gosh, I would love to know just either way. Right. Then all of a sudden one day, I was just sitting around doing nothing, you know, just kind of hanging out and being inside like all of us were. And I got that email. I was like, oh my gosh, like it was just so exciting. But like you said, I love the way that, you know, they take care about the development. And you know that from, you know, the resources within the agency, like nowhere else has, you know, these audition teams. I've been doing practice sides like crazy, you know, just staying sharp, continue to work that muscle. And it's like being in an acting class. The people that we work with are so good, and they take the time and they care enough to send me back these detailed notes. And I felt like I've grown so much and have just gotten so much better and looked at, you know, just performing in such a different way through just these emails back and forth. And I save all of them and I go back and look at them, and, you know, name me another, you know, agency, big agency, small agency, whatever, that cares like that about, you know, what your auditions look like. You know, usually I feel like the agencies, you know, they're going to get you the audition and then it's up to you, you know, break your leg, kid. But, you know, we get these review process where people are working like crazy and they want it to be the best that they can be, not only, you know, so we can hopefully get the part, but just so that everyone is being represented, you know, the way that they feel that they want to be represented. They want, you know, that they want it out there, that we put out good tapes and that we do good work, and that, you know, they do things the right way. And, you know, in an industry that can be so crazy and upside down and sideways, and I'm sure there's all these secrets out there, you know, we hear some of this stuff, which is just a little freaky, but CK seems to be doing it the right way. And, you know, as, you know, with as much honor and integrity as, I mean, really as you can, which is, I think, really impressive and says a lot.
Oh yeah, I love it. I would recommend it I have recommended it. I mean, they're, like you said, they care immensely in the notes that you get back from the self tapes and everything. It's not like, you know, a simple do better, you know, try this, do this. It's like, you know, paragraphs. I'm like, holy crap. Yeah. Right. Like I dig this. Thank you. Cause I love criticism, regardless if it's positive or negative. Like I want to be told the truth. Like I'm always the one to tell my friends the truth, no matter if it hurts or, you know, just how it is, being real. And I love that they are 100% transparent with everything. I mean, and they keep tabs on you just with like Instagram and everything, making sure you're aligning with good brands and whatnot. And they care about your well-being. So I love that, which I got to ask you, how did you get into doing what you're doing? I know you went to ASU. So
Yep.
because I do, like I said, I've been watching you, just not knowing it was you, because a lot of your videos have gone viral. I'm like, dude, this dude's hilarious. Like, what is he doing? So I just want to know how how did you delve into that?
Yeah, so it was a crazy story. I was in San Diego visiting one of my good friends that has she goes to school out there.
Mhm.
We grew up we grew up very close to each other. We didn't go to the same school, but we lived very close. So she's one of my good friends. I was out visiting her for fall break from school, and we were getting ready to go to like breakfast or something like that. And I was just kind of going through my phone, and I saw on Instagram and Snapchat from Big Dawes, who started Daily Dropout. He obviously has his own channel, his own thing. That they were looking for an interview guy at ASU to do videos for the Daily Dropout. I'm like, oh, that'd be cool, because I was a business major in school. Like, I'd never done any broadcast, nothing. But I kind of figured out, like, I kind of want to do this I want to do something in entertainment. At that point, I really didn't know what, but I really didn't have any experience outside of creating my own like stupid YouTube videos and podcasts here and there or whatever. I really didn't know what I was doing, how to put anything together or whatever. I just knew I was on the right track, right?
Mhm.
I found something that I wanted to build off of. And so I sent a DM to him like it said to do. And he said, yeah, man, send us like a quick video of why you think you would be good at this, why would you want to do it, all of this stuff. So I sent that back. They liked that. And then they wanted to set up, I was emailing at this time, set up an audition, which actually ended up becoming my first video. Literally, they just threw, like the audition was, they throw you to the wolves, you meet up with the camera guy, you go out there on ASU's campus, and they give you a few topics to choose from, and you do an interview. Like, it was literally, there wasn't, the audition was literally just,
Yeah.
the final, yeah, the final product of the interview is what you would see on YouTube. That's what I did. And that DM that I sent him, the initial conversation started on a Monday. And then I did the audition on Thursday of that same week. And then I found out on Friday that I got it. So literally within 5 days, all of a sudden I had this brand new thing. And I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's how it happened. And it was, I've never done an interview before. I've never done anything like that before, but I think it worked out nice now, because I bet you can relate to this. Anything that, where you going into this stuff, I feel like the more naive you are and the more that, you don't know the ins and outs of everything, it just kind of allows you to be free and go for it, because you don't have, those objections going off in your head. Like, listen, this just doesn't happen this way. This is going to be a cool little fun experience, but don't, it's really not going to happen. Just kind of do your thing and move on, whatever. I had no idea. I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't I get this? Maybe I am good at this. We'll just see when the camera comes on. And it ended up working out. And I feel like that really worked to my advantage. So that's kind of how I got going with that. And then it just took off. It was crazy.
Yeah. Which I think is awesome, because you seem like a very, outgoing person. You're fun. Like, I would love to meet up sometime if
Oh yeah.
we fly out to somewhere, anywhere, go get some drinks. But were you ever like timid to start? Like, were you always outgoing? Because I feel like I could do interviews, but my heart would still be racing, because I love public speaking.
Yeah.
But still, like, some of the questions you ask, I'm like, dude, that's so raw. I love it.
I know. I surprised myself, because I've always, like, I grew up, my parents were, they're not crazy, but they are stricter, and like I was really afraid to tell them what I was doing at first. And like now, like, my mom doesn't mind as much. I wasn't as worried about my dad. My dad loves it, and he shows it to like his work friends and stuff, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is pretty funny. But yeah, sometimes some of like the questions, especially early on when I first started doing it, I'm like, oh God, how do I ask this? How do I do this? And the worst ones weren't always the initial question, because the initial question had to be worded in a way where it wasn't too bad, so that we wouldn't get kicked off of YouTube. Like we wanted to find, like, the title had to kind of work, but the follow-up questions I had to come up with, or where the conversation would go, sometimes were a little nerve-wracking to ask, because you get people that, like anything, are a little bit more, they're easier to interview. They're willing to participate a little bit more and a little bit easier than other people. so yes, but once I got going, once I was about a year in, I really felt I got a lot better and caught my stride after I did my first round of spring break videos, which was March 2019.
Okay.
And I feel like once I got to after that, and I went into spring break because I feel I was being a little stiff or whatever. Like I wasn't liking, because I would go back and watch my videos and to critique myself.
Yeah, same.
And I went on spring break. I'm like, you know what? In Mexico, literally international waters, like I am just going to have my one goal for this week is to have fun with these interviews. Like I'm just going to allow myself to go out there and have fun. And it kind of unlocked something in me. And then from then on, I was just rolling. I don't care if people were saying no to me. I don't care who it was. I was going to go up and ask them if they wanted to do it. I was going to ask whatever question it was, but I knew I was going to be myself. I didn't want to diverge from being myself because then it just wouldn't feel exactly right. But I found a way. I finally got into that headspace where I'm realizing, hey, I'm performing. Like I'm myself here. Like I'm not playing a character. But to an extent, I could. I didn't have to be, my full self. I could be, something a little bit different. There could be a difference between me walking on the street, podcast me, and interview me. Like I figured a way to kind of, like we talked about earlier, channeling the energy and just allowing myself to be different and just kind of be out there and be goofy and just be like, I was watching something like I'd go back and watch, like the Adam Sandler movies of the world. And I'm like, this guy's so ridiculous. Like if this was real life, like if he wasn't a famous actor, he'd just be like some weird guy, like trying to collect dollars on the side of the street, doing something weird in like Vegas or whatever. Right. But no, we all think he's awesome because he's a movie star. I'm like, look what he's doing. And I do. And then I started to try to just kind of be just kind of more out there and just kind of let my full self go. And it worked out. So that's but it very rarely does you have the full package to start. So I was so lucky they allowed me to grow and all of that, give me all that time, and they really worked with me and just kind of allowed me to figure that stuff out for myself, and it really worked out, and I'm just really grateful for it. It was an awesome experience.
Oh yeah, I agree with you too, because the world's too serious, man. Like
Yeah.
I love to be, sarcastic, joking around. Like I can be serious. Like when it comes to work, I'll be serious when shit hits the fan. Patients dying, all that kind of stuff. But like some like me and my doctors, we'll be joking around, messing with each other because that, dude, it's like life should not be too serious.
Oh no.
The same with you. Like your reactions to some of the shit people say is better than what they say. Like it's literally like, to quote The Office, when Jim like looks at the camera, you're like, did this chick really just, okay, all right, like damn girl.
That's completely rip off, because you're exactly right. I'm like, because the Office humor, and you get this too because you're a huge Office fan. I can tell the way that you talk about it. But I was just like, I just read this book about The Office, and I didn't realize, because I didn't watch it when it was on television. Like I didn't watch it live. Like
Same.
It all of us in our generation all caught it on Netflix, and that's why it's the monster it is today, even bigger than it was. But it was revolutionary, because they're going to do this paper company show with no laugh track, which was really weird at the time. Like all those shows still had laugh tracks on network television, and none of the, like, there's some jokes, but early on, like I feel like the peak of The Office, it was never really jokey. All the funny stuff was like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this. And Stanley reaction shot, Jim reaction shot, what is Michael doing? Pam reaction shot. The funniest stuff was when they're looking at the camera, or when they're like trying to process, like, wait, just back up. Like, my wheels are turning here. Like, what is going on? And I just, like, literally subconsciously, like at one point I didn't even realize I was, well, you know what? I'd been doing it for years with people that I would be like in class with, when the teacher would do something or someone would ask a question that was just answered. And I look at them like
I do the same thing.
Yeah. And, or when I'm in the car and someone says something, like my mom used to say like stuff, and my brother and I would, we just tease our parents, right? Like my mom would say something and I'd like look up in the rearview mirror to catch my brother's eyesight, like as if we were in the office looking at the camera, like, did mom really just say that?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Do we need to put mom in a home? Like, she's not that old, but do we need to put her in a home? Like, what is she doing?
Exactly.
Like, it was just something I've been doing in life forever. And I finally just had like so many people, like you just said that you do, I know so many people that have done, like do that. And now I just was lucky enough to be able to get on camera and to be able to do it. And it was seamless because I've been doing it my whole life, just not on camera.
Exactly. That's what I love. And that's what I like want to try to bring to my influencer side of everything. Cause I mean, I remember one time we were in a case and this dude was having a massive heart attack, everything, you know, fast paced. And I was with like my fastest doctor and he said something like, "Oh, this is super tight," or something like that. And I just remember dead quiet. And I was like, "That's what she said." And then he looks at me, he goes, "Are you fucking serious?" And I was like, "Yep, I'm sorry. Let's go. My bad." Like, I couldn't help it. So
Yeah.
it's the same kind of situation. Like I have to break that tension, you know? So it's same thing. Like the reactions to stuff is the biggest,
Yeah.
I find it better than, you know, most of the jokes and stuff like that. So I totally agree.
Because I love like all kinds of comedy, slapstick comedy, but truly my favorite type of comedy and, you know, what I try to emulate, and I feel like what I'm the best at is that, you know, very dry, you know, The Office, Ryan Reynolds type, like,
Yes. Yeah.
breaks the fourth wall in Deadpool. Like I just lose my mind. It is so funny in the way that, you know, the way that his voice is, you know, when, you know, it's almost like he's running out of breath and his voice is getting higher as he's like going to like the climax of his, you know, sentence or whatever he's saying. Like that stuff is just so funny to me. And not everyone gets it. Now, a lot, you know, because I would kind of get a lot of pushback, like, because I would read all the comments and stuff and people would post funny stuff. And, you know, if people don't align with that comedy, it really does go over their head. And if it doesn't catch, like, even if it's funny and if it doesn't catch or, you know, because it moves fast and if you miss it, you miss it. But it's nice to hear that, you know, the people who like align with that type of comedy get it, because like I would look back and sometimes I would think things are funnier than other people. And I never like to look back at my stuff and be like, "Oh my God, I'm so funny." But some of the things I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even realize I looked at the camera there." Cause I'm like, "Oh, that's actually pretty funny." Like, I'm glad that I did that, but you know, not everyone's always going to catch it. Cause it's not like, there's no like I'm really not like a punchline guy. You know what I mean?
No.
It's kind of like quick-witted comments, but that's the stuff that I love the most. So I'm like, I just want to do that. Cause that's what I like relate to. That's what I like.
Yeah, you're making it real. Like that's why I've always enjoyed like your channel as well as I guess Big Dawes. I don't know his name entirely, but both of that entire thing is because it's not just all about like, oh, let's build up the punchline, hit him with the punchline. It's like, let's see how like a true interactment ends up, you know, like the true, like how you are. Like you said, I felt stiff and then I let myself go. That's because you're dope. Like you're awesome. You're like, I can already tell you're an amazing guy. So it's like to watch that unfold with the, you know, real life of what people actually have to say is fucking awesome, dude. That's what makes it so funny. Like I love those videos, dude. So
thank you. Yeah, they're fun. And that's the best because it like, you know, like we said, there's no punchline, but because of the reactions and little things that get said, it builds to the end of it. So you're getting like, you know, they're not jokes, but basically you get like multiple jokes, like multiple laughing moments all in one scene, which is just something that's, you know, that's why they're able to do it with The Office. It's a mockumentary. It was supposed to be like real life. And it's just, it's beautiful. It's my favorite type of stuff. And it doesn't get old. I'm like you. I have it on in the background all the time. You remember like, even when it's on in the background and you're maybe not listening that closely, do you ever hear things that I've watched The Office like 100 times through, like legit. It's crazy. Do you ever still catch things and you're like, wait, what did Andy just say? I'm like, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Like, do you ever get that?
Yep, I do. And it's same kind of thing with like what Robert California says in it. And I'm like, what the hell did I just watch? And like, I remember I was watching Age of Ultron not too long ago. And I didn't realize that his voice was Ultron. Like he played Ultron. And so it's like this, like now I just see both of those and I'll catch certain things in The Office. I'm like, what? I've watched it like at least 7 times all the way through.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, I did never realize that this was in there, you know? So I definitely agree. I love doing that with movies and everything because it makes you appreciate the smallest of details, you know?
Yeah. I guess as we're wrapping up here, I just had an amazing idea and I'm going to get it out there so it's on the show so that if I forget, I know that it's out there and I can go back and find it.
Oh yeah.
I'm waiting to find someone. I've been wanting to do this because my my podcast is, for the most part, are long form interviews like this, but I like to, let it, I never want to be boxed in. I love it to take on different lives, and when different things are going on, when football comes back, this is going to go back to, being the Browns podcast. It's going to be 16 Sundays in hell, as I like to call it.
Yeah.
That's what the season is to me every year. But I've always had this idea when I first was brainstorming coming up with this show. I wanted to find someone where we could do like basically like rewatches of The Office. Like we could pick an episode, right? And then we could come back and break them down. Like, do you ever listen to the Office Ladies podcast with Angela?
Yeah, Jenna Fisher. She does it like every Sunday or something like that with I don't know Angela's real name, but yeah, with Angela.
Her name is her real name is Angela Kinsey.
Oh, okay.
And then yeah, Jenna Fisher. So Angela and Pam. So like I would love to do that because I already had that idea before that podcast came out. So I don't want to act like I'm a copycat or this is an original idea. But I think it'd be a fun perspective looking from the outside. Like obviously they have all the great inside stories and all the resources because they were on the show and they lived it. But I think we need to revisit this and do some we could do a run where we do 3 episodes, one a month or something of like the cringiest episodes. And we'll do like the top 3 cringe episodes and just talk about them because that's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. I've just been trying to find the right Office fan to be able to break that down with.
Hell yeah, man. I'm down to with whatever you want to do. The Office, you games, anything you want. I mean,
perfect.
That sounds fantastic to me for sure. Perfect. So I'd be more than willing.
Last thing, Zach. So we've talked about some fitness stuff. We've talked about some nutrition stuff. Now, I get most of the stuff on paper, but I need to know. Let's role play here, and I think we're gonna be okay playing our roles because they're pretty close to life.
Role playing. Alrighty, first date, we role playing. All right.
Here we go. So let's say you're this RCIS guy that lives in Colorado. You got a good physique, right? You're gonna play that guy. And I'm the Ohio guy that lives in Arizona that's kind of a little scrawny, but has a good understanding, a little bit of a foundation, is lifted before, understands things like that. What would be your plan for me? I don't want to get jacked. I don't want to be a bodybuilder, but I love the lean physique. Obviously no one's going to be, Efron from Baywatch, but I love his physique to where he just has he takes care of himself. He's lean. And basically he has the muscle in the right places, right? Sure. I don't want to be huge and bulky. If I could be, 160, 165 and just look a little bit, I don't know, harder. I don't even know what the term would be for me.
Yeah, no, yeah, you said it.
What would you do for me? And I'm basically, this is a role play, but this is me getting some free information from.
No, dude, you can text me whenever you want. I love giving away free info and helping people out. I'm not a trainer because whatever, but it all depends. I mean, do you like weightlifting? Do you like CrossFit? Do you like?
So I like weightlifting, and then if I ever needed to do any cardio, I love taking the time to go on walk. I love walks. I love throwing in the podcast. So walking and weightlifting would be my things.
Yeah. So I think starting off weightlifting, you should definitely incorporate it. Easy split 3 to 4 times a week, build up to 5 times a week with 2 rest days off, and I can definitely help you with a split that would help. And then just changing your macronutrients around. So for anybody listening, in your macros are your fats, your proteins, your carbohydrates, and trying to help with total body recomp. So you can lose fat and build muscle if in multiple different stages. I can't do that. But with someone, who hasn't done this for as long, you could definitely do that. It's just all about how you lift and then how your diet comes down to. So I'd love to write it down. Basically, I can send it to you. It's basically, you want to have a higher protein intake, a pretty good, moderate carbohydrate intake, and you can boost that up once your body starts getting used to that. And then healthy, obviously, good quality foods. I hate the if it fits your macros bullshit. Good quality food. Sorry. My bad.
I don't care if Wendy's fits your macros. You gotta eat Wendy's every day. I know on paper, if you eat in a deficit and have a spicy chicken every day, that
it will work.
On paper that works, but it doesn't mean you're going to feel good.
Exactly. And it's all about quality and how you feel. And then, lower fat. So I could definitely help you with that. But yeah, it just comes off with starting it off, creating a routine, and then, figuring out, like you said, your total energy expenditure, your TE of the day. So how much you burn just living your life. And then whether that's factored in with exercise, and like the thermogenics of food kind of play a role into it. But then you just eat, 200 to 300 above that, and it'll be slowly but surely, but you'll burn that fat,
Right.
being not as conditioned, athletic. And then you can create that, chiseled physique for sure.
Yeah.
And then a lot of what Zac Efron did, which I've done for shoots and stuff, is you dehydrate the shit out of yourself, which sucks. But you get that, dry physique, but still you could get to a point to where you look like him. It's just not as dry, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't want to, I love my water too much. I'm not going to be, I don't, unless, okay, if you're going to give me Baywatch money for a movie, I'll do some dehydration, just putting that out there so people know. But for now, I think I'm going to stick with clear piss for now.
Yeah, for sure. So I can definitely, I'll write you. I'll help you out for sure.
Oh yeah. And we'll do some updates. We'll make some content out of this too. That'll be perfect.
Love that for sure. Cause I could dive into it right now, but that's another at least like 30 minutes that I'd be on this. So
well, what we'll do is we'll get it written up, and then we'll do a follow-up, and we're going to start this journey. We'll make a thing out of it. Cause I've worked out and stuff, but I think it'd be cool to I think it would help hold myself a little bit more accountable.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like, if we kind of partnered up on this and then did, some cool like video or podcast stuff with it, just to like update people. And, if I'll be able to access a gym and, there's not a ton else open there to do right now, might as well focus on something like this.
Oh yeah. And when you come back to Arizona, Colorado's really not that far.
No.
And I could plan and I like Arizona. I really do. And, I could definitely, come out there, go off-roading, and then we could work out, just hang out, shit like that for sure.
Yeah.
We'll do that as well.
We'll do it. Yeah. Come see me. That'd be fun. And I haven't made it out to Colorado yet, but, I really want to. That's obviously one of my, I'm right there. I finally got a car out at school. So I can I'm a little bit more mobile now, which is nice. So, yeah, we'll definitely make it work. Cause that'll be really fun.
Fuck yeah. Sorry.
What the fuck, man?
Trying to be a little professional for you.
You know how buttoned up and professional my videos are and my content.
True.
You're ruining my reputation here.
I am. I'm a fucking sailor too with my words. So that's why I try to be a little clean cut with it. Professional to a degree.
All right. Well, Zac, thank you. Where can everyone find your stuff? Like anything you have going on, take the time, do all that stuff now so people can check your stuff out.
Yeah, right now it's just at the Zac Engelman Instagram. Eventually, I think me and my boy will start a YouTube, just kind of going over, Instagram, fitness guys, whatever. We'll start at YouTube, but right now it's just the Instagram at the moment, and then hopefully line up some gigs and whatnot, and then we'll work on our stuff for sure.
Absolutely beautiful. Well, Zac, thanks again, man. This was really fun. I'm glad we were able to make this happen.
You're an awesome dude. I appreciate you, brother.
Of course, man.
Later.